Txakoli or Chacolí is a slightly sparkling, very dry white wine with high acidity and low alcohol content, produced in the Spanish provinces of the Basque Country, Cantabria and northern Burgos. Further afield, Chile is also a minor producer. It is normally served as an aperitif and drunk within 1 year of bottling, as it cannot be stored for longer. The most common, white variety has a pale green color, but there are red and rosé varieties. When served, it is normally poured into tall glasses from a height, often as an accompaniment to pinchos. It typically has between 9.5 to 11.5 ABV. The 18th century Palace of Mendibal in Lio near Bilbao-de houses a museum dedicated to Txakoli, the Museo del Txakoli, explaining the history of Txakoli and with a large collection of machinery used for making it. The name. This wine is called Txakolan in Basque, Txaklina, meaning the Txakolan. The term is attested from the middle of the 18th century onwards, occasionally also as a personal name. Traditionally the general form has been Txakolan, although Zakolan has been documented in Iparral. Txakoli, considered a misspelling by the Euskaltzaindia, is attested from 1985 onwards. Derived forms are based on the root Txakolan, for example Txakolan Nardo, Txakolan Dansa, Txakolan Salsa, Txakolan Goria, Txakolan Etxe. This wine is called Chacolí in Spanish, a word that comes from the Basque Txakolan. The first reference to the name of this wine in Spanish was Vino Chacolí in a document from the Basque Country in 1520. The wine is occasionally called Chacolí in French. Most authors assume a Basque origin, but the origin of the word is ultimately unknown, except for the ending in, which frequently occurs in liquids. The word is obscure. Amongst the more fanciful attempts at derivation is a suggested origin from Etxabe. Others opt for a French origin, as it initially appeared as a term to identify French wines in villages of eastern Guipuzcoa. There are also authors who suggest a Spanish origin of the term. History. Until the 1980s, Txakoli was a homemade wine, drunk in the Basque Country, Cantabria and Vale de Mena, and almost in danger of dying out towards the middle of the 19th century. However, since some varieties of Txakoli in the Basque Country managed to achieve denomination d'origine certification from 1989 onwards, its quality, spread and appeal have increased. Varieties. Txakoli is traditionally fermented in foeders, but most Txakoli produced today is fermented in stainless steel vats. There are 3 certified varieties. Most Txakoli is grown in the Atlantic regions of the Basque Country, areas with high rainfall and average temperatures between 7.5 degrees Celsius and 18.7 degrees Celsius, occasionally suffering from frost. Txakoli from Getaria code Txaklina in Basque, Chacolí de Getaria in Spanish. This variety comes from a small region in Guipuzcoa around the towns of Getaria. Zarautz and Aran is of a very pale yellow to green color. This was the first variety of Txakoli to receive the certification in 1989. The cultivated area has increased from 60 hectares to 177 hectares since certification. Annually some 900,000 liters are produced in this area, mostly on southeast-facing slopes to protect the vines from the harsh Atlantic weather. Unlike the other varieties which are grown as most varieties of grapes, the grapes for this Txakoli are grown according to the trellis system. In this system, the vines are cultivated at a greater height above the ground, with the foliage forming a contiguous canopy to improve the microclimate. The white variety used is Hondrae B. Azuria, the red grape is Hondrae B. Beltza. In recent years, other towns in Guipuzcoa Mexico have also started producing Txakoli under this certification, including Oreo, Zuma, Aracate, A-Bar, Mutricus, D-Bar, Zestoa, Hondarribia, Villabona, Ernieta, Onati, Biazama, Zarane and Olaberia. Txakoli from Biscay, Bizcocho Txaklina in Basque, Chacolí de Vizcaya in Spanish. This variety is made in most parts of Biscay, except for the far western end. This was the second Txakoli to receive that certification in 1994. It is grown on approximately 150 hectares by 85 villages and towns throughout Biscay, producing some 700,000 liters of Txakoli annually. Records of winemaking in this region go back to the 8th century and references to Txakoli go back several centuries themselves. The quality of the Txakoli varies as the microclimatic conditions vary. Both white and red grapes are used for making Txakoli in Biscay. White varieties are Hondarribia Azurea and Fol Blanche. The red variety used is Hondarribia Beltza. Historically, another light red variety called Oalabegi was also used. This variety had almost become extinct and is making a slow comeback. Txakoli from Alava Arabaco Txaklina in Basque, Chacolí de Alava in Spanish. This variety comes from the far northwestern end of Alava. It is the youngest of the three varieties of Txakoli, having gained certification in 2001. It is yellowish in color, very acidic and slightly frothy. It is grown over some 55 hectares of land around the towns of Era, Amorio, Arciniega, Laudio and Ocondo. Winemaking has a long tradition in this region, going back as far as 760 AD in the historical record. In the late 19th century, grapes were grown on more than 500 hectares of land, declining to 5 hectares in the late 20th century before the recent revival. The most commonly used grape for this Txakoli is Hondarribia Azurea, but other grapes are also permitted. Bordales Azurea, Iscariotetapia, Iscariotuandgabu. Chacolí from Cantabria, Chacolí, in the original common French, Spanish and Basque spelling Chacolí, was traditional also in the region of Cantabria until the end of the 19th century. Great amounts of wine were consumed and exported from the 13th to the 19th century, produced in the comarca of Trasmiera, with villages including Colindres, Armuero, Moelo, Arganos and Nolia as the main vineyards and production areas of Chacolí. The production of wine in Cantabria, even in the middle of the 20th century, far exceeded that of the Basque provinces. In Cantabria there are two wine geographical indications created in 2004 and 2005, Liébana wine and Costa de Cantabria wine. The Cantabrian region where the wine was called Chacolí is included in the Costa de Cantabria wine GI. Chacolí is still produced in Cantabria, but on a very limited scale. Chacolí from Burgos. It is also still produced in the Vale de Mena in the province of Burgos, included in the Castilla y León wine GUE created in 2005, where efforts are being made to receive a certification.